Hello everyone, it's Jay here from the Trading Court Podcast, a Pokemon TCG podcast bringing you anything and everything Pokemon TCG related. If you are looking for Pokemon TCG competitive decks ready to go, including GLC decks, please head over to PokéDex4U.com. Pokédex4U has a variety of decks ready for sale, with each deck being fully customizable and bespoke to your needs. Use the code TrainingCourtTCG for 5% off your first order. Now let's get on to the episode. Hello everyone and welcome to the Training Court TCG podcast, the podcast about anything and everything Pokemon TCG related. Jay here, and I'm joined by my fellow co-hosts Alex, Andy and Kath, and also our first very esteemed guest. We've got Shay, or as everyone probably knows him on Twitter, at BurtsPTCG. So hello everyone, and hey Burts, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm all good. Excited to be here. Haven't gone on a podcast in a while, so yeah, exciting time. We just had EUIC, new format, new meta. Yeah, it's all terribly exciting. A lot of stuff going on. Mm-hmm. So yeah, let's get involved.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. So what we thought we'd do is we usually kind of, on our first episode, we kind of talked about our history of how we got into the Pokemon TCG, talked about Pokemon and our experiences. So we thought, given that you're the latest member of the podcast, let's go for it. So how did you get into Pokemon TCG? What's your story, your backstory?
Yeah, so I've been playing the games on the Game Boy Color since I was a kid, right? I think Gold was my first one. I was like 6 or 7 maybe. Which is cool. Been playing them all through my life. I didn't get started in the TCG though till like maybe 2011-ish, where I went into a shop. My friend, who was in 6th form, this was called Forbidden Planet. Never heard of it before in my life. And I was just like, oh, look at that! They got like all this like geeky stuff. And there's like Harry Potter stuff there, like Lord of the Rings stuff there. It's obviously all great. And we saw some Pokemon cards. Wanted to tell. I was like, oh yeah, look, that's £4 a pack, or it'd been £3 back then actually. But let's just grab some and see what happens. Dark Explorers at the time. Okay. So I opened one up, and that was literally it. I think I packed something good in that pack. I don't know what it was, but I remember thinking, oh, how does this stuff work? So over time, bought like another pack here, another pack there, and I was like, well, how does this game work then? So like, I just went on YouTube, typed in like Pokemon TCG. Then that's when Puka was still uploading stuff there, on the Top Cut channel. Got up on there. And I was like, oh wow, okay, is this how the game works? So I started on TCGO, which is all the way back in like the black and white beta back then. Like that's when the camera angle was like super low down. Like people moaning about TCG Live now. You want to try TCGO back then. That was funny. And I remember, I think I bought a box. I bought a Plasma Blast box when I was just turning 18, I think. And I packed 2 of the Deluge Blastoise. And I knew that the Deluge Blastoise was a good deck back then, Blastoise Keldeo. And then from there, I built the deck, started playing with my friend. And then maybe like a year or 2 after that, so like 2013, 2014 time maybe, went to my first league challenge, got second at there. And then that was it from there. And that's when I started getting into the more competitive stuff. But back then, I was playing some crazy stuff. So, And then over time, I've slowly got more meta, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on your views on that. And then over time, played more. And it wasn't until about the COVID time and lockdown started where I thought, let's upload some videos properly, take it seriously, because I ain't got nothing else to do. I'm stuck at home. Then started to upload that stuff properly. And then somehow, somewhere, I'm in the situation I'm now. I get to like travel the world and commentate and all that good stuff. So
that's phenomenal, isn't it? I mean, just looking at kind of your kind of repertoire. You've obviously casted 6 events. And obviously you're a writer for the TCG Player and Flipside Gaming, so that's phenomenal. And obviously that's how we obviously know you through the YouTube and also casting as well. And obviously seeing some of your decks. I think I think Andy's copied a couple of your decks. I think the Hisuian Electrode.
Oh, the Hisuian Electrode. That was fun. If Lost Box didn't exist, I'd be convinced
that's class.
That deck flies. I remember. I remember that video. I think, wow, this deck actually works. I wasn't expecting this. It was flying. Yeah.
But no, definitely. And then, like you said, with the first pack, that's how they get you in. For some reason, that first pack always has a pull.
It's my first pack. Do you remember when you took me to Geek Retreat and I got a pack and I got a rainbow trainer card? Then I was like, I don't care about this. I gave it to you and I want it back.
It's in my master set now, I'm afraid. But it's the same. I mean, during COVID, I go back to me and Al used to go to the newsagents around the corner back in '99, and we used to get like Fossil and Jungle packs for like $1.99. I'd love to get one for $1.99.
Could you imagine that? It's like 10x that price now, right?
But and then it was just during COVID, and I just saw a Pokemon pack, and I was like, God, I mean, I still play the mainline games, but I had stepped away from the TCG a long time ago, and I just got one pack, and it was Battle Styles as well, and I got a full art Karina's Focus, if that's from Battle Styles.
I think it is. Yeah. No, I think that was.
And I was like, I'm hooked. Oh, and then it rolls, isn't it? And it just
no, definitely.
So, no, that's awesome. So obviously you've talked about the Blastoise deck. What is your favorite deck of all time that you've played so far?
I've never been able to actually narrow it down further than this. So I've got a 1A and a 1B, right?
Okay, that's good. That's better than me.
My 1A is the Ancient Origins Gyarados. You familiar with that one?
Yeah.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, the full retaliation. Adored that deck. I loved how it just rewarded good sequencing, and then it was such a powerhouse back then. Like I did a video. You know Alex Dow, the caster, as well. I did a video because he went on a mad run with that deck. He won 2 regionals in a row without losing a single game, both with Gyarados. So I thought that is insane. So that's always my favorite deck to play. But then after that, my 1B is Gramble. Similar kind of vein. It's like a 1 prize I could just swing really hard. But that's probably the first deck where I like sat down, just learned it inside and out. And I feel as if that deck really rewarded like good players. And that was a deck I've actually done the best with, probably out of the 2. But I just love that deck. I love how every turn was just like a puzzle, right? You had to just piece together things right. Make sure you end the turn with a Gramble, a Snowball, and energy. And then if like your opponent ends you up to 6, here we go, have to try and get back down again. And I just love that deck. I wish there was a deck like that now. Arcanine is just not quite there, unfortunately. But I loved Gramble and Gyarados. They were definitely my
2Gs.
After that, maybe like Mega Mewtwo Y gets a look in at 3rd place, maybe as well. But, they're definitely my top 2. Love them.
Oh, brilliant. And then obviously you've been playing for quite some time, so you've seen obviously the evolution of the decks. Obviously the power creep is substantial at the moment. You're looking, we're looking forward now, and we've got, Pokemon with 330 HP, for 2 prize cards, you've got EXs at that, and it's mental. And what's your kind of overall opinion on the Sword and Shield format, and obviously your opinions on moving into the Scarlet and Violet era?
I never thought about that, actually. Sword and Shield's where I think it started to get noticeably crazy, right? I remember just seeing Zacian V, like a basic that I did 230 with like 220 health. I was like, that's insane. like, was it Keldeo? Okay, how much did Keldeo do? Keldeo, I think it was 60 plus 30 for each water energy, and that used to be like a get out the way kind of attack. Was it 60 plus 30? 50 plus 20. It's even worse than I remember.
What were the cards doing back before Sword and Shield? Because I actually only joined the Astral Radiance, and so I've no experience pre Sword and Shield, and everyone's like, oh yeah, do you remember when Snorlax with 150 HP was like beefy? But what was
it's actually interesting. We keep talking about Keldeo, right? Because Keldeo Blastoise was basically Blastoise was going to attach as many water energies from hand to your Pokemon, right? And then Keldeo was like your nuke attacker, which did 50 plus 20. So it's actually very similar to how this new Chen Pao deck will work. Obviously, Baxcalibur's got the same ability, and then Chen Pao. But then if you just compare Chen Pao, so am I. It's probably going to be my NAIC deck, to be honest. But then if we was to look at Chen Pao now, right, which is like literally like your Keldeo now, right? So Keldeo EX had 170 HP. Chen Pao's got 220. Chen Pao's got that ability when it's in the active, like a capacious bucket, right? Keldeo's ability let you like switch it into the active, so not quite, you can't get energy from it. But then the attack, was it 60 times each one you discard, right? That is insanely strong in comparison to what Secret Sword is. So I remember the funniest thing I think about though is like back in the day, Keldeo 170 HP. If you hit 180, that's a 1-shot, right? Now 180 on a 300 Pokemon is just about a 2-shot, which I think is ridiculous.
Even 190 on the 190 on the Gardevoir EX is like it's just not usable, really. It just rarely. I've been playing Gardevoir EX, and I just rarely use it as an attacker. Obviously, you see it's a supporter, but Yeah,
This goes to show, in my first game at EUIC, I'll talk about it later, but in my first game in EUIC, I got hit by a Zacian V, and he put 10 energy from the discard onto it, so he was hitting for 300, and then the 60 on top of that, he was hitting for 360, and I was using Rolling Iron, and I had V-Guard, and he still couldn't knock me out. And you just think, holy crap, that is just mental.
Yeah.
It's just mental, the power creep, isn't it? It's just it's obscene. But have you seen, obviously you were at EUIC and you saw obviously the final, who won. Was that a surprise for you, or do you think the Scarlet and Violet era needs the next rotation to start taking out the Vs and to get into its own, really?
Yeah, I think the Vs are always going to be competitive until they rotate. I think they're just too inherently strong. They've got a hefty HP as a basic, as regards like a Roltz or something. But in regards to a surprise, what ended up winning, I actually wasn't surprised at all. I'll tell you a story. So I left for London. When did I leave? It would have been a Thursday morning, right? So I invited Demi, who's number 1 in CP in the UK. He came over to stay the night before. And my uni course only literally finished the Thursday of EUIC. I was literally typing my dissertation before I left. So I had no time I had no time to test whatsoever. So I was completely theorying what I was going to play. No time to test. And I showed, and when Demi came out, I was like, "Oh, Demi, come look at this. I think I might have broke the format here. This deck seems to like beat a lot of things. Like, what's that?" He's like, "Look, it's Arc Duraludon, right? 4 Lost City. I'm guaranteed this doesn't seem to lose. You slam Lost Box. Lugia actually can't touch you. Gardevoir can be a little bit dicey. I wasn't on the Alolan Vulpix, to be fair. I was like, Gardevoir can be a little bit dicey. Mew might be not too bad, but you auto win Lugia and Lost Box. Like, what do you think?" He goes, he's like, "Don't play it. It's terrible." I was like, "All right, then stop." And then I'm sitting there on the Sunday watching it in the finals, thinking. And then if I look on Limitless right now, Arc Duraludon 4 Lost City. I was basically there. Like I was basically right there. So. I had a feeling Duraludon could be really good for strictly just EUIC. Now that the deck exists, people will start to tech for it. Like, Lugia can play the 1/1 single strike, and Gardevoir has to find some attacker to get around Vulpix. But I think for that event, it was a terrific meta call. And then Gudra as well. I think that was everyone's like secret deck. Like, everyone was playing, but no one wanted to say they were playing, because I think that was like the 3rd most popular deck in day 2. Yeah, it was. So that was a good meta call for the event.
Jay played Gudra as well, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I did. I went through the motions. I built Miraidon and I tested it, and I just felt like it ran out of steam at the end game. Like I was
at the beginning. It sets up and then that's it.
It sets up and then that's it. It runs out of steam. If you whiff a couple of electric generators, I think it struggles. I know, but obviously one made top 16, I believe.
Top 8
was even, yeah. So I know it's a good deck. But I just struggled with it on my testing, because I was even playing against Al, new running Gardevoir, and I was 4-2 in prizes, so I had 2 prizes left to take. I just couldn't get those prizes and end up losing just because you whiff a couple, you run out of steam. And then tried Rapid Strike Box, and I really liked that. I really liked it, but I hated the idea of having a VMAX on the board, 3 VMAXs on the board, with Sky Sealstone so prominent in the meta at the moment. I was like, 4 prize, I just did that worried me. And then Gudra was, I thought, it can go through Arc Dura, kind of. Obviously the energy element doesn't matter. And then I just thought Lost Box Light, so I went with it and didn't do very well. Tested fantastic, but didn't do very well in the tournament. But we'll talk about that later. But moving on to some more questions. Al, Andy, Kath, have you got any questions?
Yeah, I wanted to ask how you normally prepare for like a major tournament.
Okay.
And does it differ from, say, like a regionals or an EUIC?
Good question. Everything I did for EUIC just now, don't do that. That's 100% like what
It's understandable though. It's understandable. Yeah.
It's like I literally started doing like how-to content, and someone was like, "What you just did for UIC, you should go back and watch your videos and do what you said there." I was like, "Yeah, I know." But let's take NAIC. That's the next event I'm going to.
Yeah.
So I think coming into an event, you want to obviously look at the meta. That's the first place you start, right? Look at the meta, try and work out what the big vulnerabilities are for the top decks. Like looking at decks like Arc Dura now, everyone's going to start playing tech, so you think that goes down. Gardevoir Tor's playing, he got second, so that probably goes up. Only 1 Mew in top 8, probably goes down. Now, some people like to play Mew, though, so you can't completely write it off, but that means you can probably get away with playing one JP or not two. Lost Box actually flopped a lot, so you can maybe start to take out your Espeons and stuff like this. So you just look at the meta, see what's going on. And then from there, you just think what decks can take advantage of what I predict is going to happen. And then from there, once you have your first 3 decks that like fit the bill, just test them, lock yourself into one of those 3 and just grind loads of games. Test against the matchups that are harder because it's very easy to beat the decks that you're going to beat. Like there's no point in testing Arctura against Lugia with no Xerxes because there's no point. So like test the hard ones. It'll get a bit boring. But yeah, just keep doing that. Lock yourself in. Don't do anything silly last minute. And I think that's the way to go. And that's how I prepared myself.
Which is what we all do.
I thought it's so easy to do, right? But like my best results, like when I top 8'd, what was that event I top 8'd? International Challenge, and then when I top 256 EUIC, at least for EUIC, I was like, I'm gonna play Mew no matter what, off the back of Liverpool. Just played it, and then end up doing well. So I think locking yourself in early is good. And just doing matchup specific testing, I think, is the best thing. I see a lot of people that they'll like grind loads of games on like live now, I guess. I just don't think that's very good for tournament testing because half the people you play on live are just awful. It's just unfortunate, that's how it is. And then you end up playing against like the same Arcanine V deck every day, and you think, well, I can beat that, but like, what's my Lugia matchup like? I'll just never know. So get a friend round, or exactly. So just proxy the decks, play against your mate. Or one thing I'm going to start doing a lot more actually is get the limitless tabletop. Get like one tab on each monitor and just literally play against myself. I think that works really well as well. Because then you sort of learn 2 decks at the same time. But in regards to any differences between a regional and an IC, probably not. I'll probably treat them both the same. Because you just want to try and win as many games as possible. So I don't really see a way of differentiating between the two. The only difference is now it seems to be like they're trying to line up some of the ICs with new formats, right? Like EUIC was the first event of this format, and NEIC is going to be the first set with Paldea Evolve. So that kind of makes it a little bit different in the sense that sort of do a bit more speculation.
More interesting for the viewers, isn't it? Really,
I think new formats can inherently reward better deck builders. For example, like if you was, I don't know how many other Arcturas there were. I don't think there was that many. But if you was on that similar wavelength, it seems to be like you would have been rewarded. Like looking at these day 2 decks, you have good matchups across the board. So I guess in that sense, it makes preparing for an IC a little bit different. But there's so many resources now. Limitless. You got the Japanese events get streamed. You got Ethan Heggie Radio. He's quite good for putting out the new format stuff. So it's all about just preparation, really. To be fair, I think.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, it must be so hard to really predict what is the best deck to play. I guess that's what sets the good players.
At the start of a new format as well.
Yeah.
Like I bumped into Todd on day 1 in between games. So just
swapped a couple of his cards around.
And I asked him, I looked at Gardevoir myself as well, but I didn't know it was going to be that strong. And obviously Todd is a much better deck builder than me anyway, 100%. I said to him, why Gardevoir? And his honest response was, it just draws days.
Cards.
Draws for days.
Right.
So he can always get himself out of that, and because of the way he builds the decks, he's able to get out of it. So it's just that consistency, isn't it? So
most of the time in the new format, consistency tends to be king. Like you can try and tech for everything, but normally consistency is king. Like you see a lot of the time in a new format, you might predict, like let's say for Paldea Evolve, for example, let's have a think. A lot of people might try and play, Chen Pao, maybe Ting Lu.
Yeah.
But the chances of those lists being refined are going to be quite low, right? It's going to be quite like if you compare those lists to like the list 3 months down the road, it's going to be very different. So if you just turn up with a cracked, Lost Box list, for example, you know how to pilot a lot better.
Yeah.
You've got like 500 games under your belt with versus my man who's got maybe 5 games with Ting Lu. You'll just smoke them every time. So like new format, a lot of people try to get they are the new toys, but sometimes just going with Old Faithful tends to work as well. So
No, definitely. Kath, have you got anything?
You stole my questions.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were saying I stole something of you. Oh no, what have I stolen?
I have a question.
So eager. Sorry, Kath.
Unless Kath, you actually have another question.
No.
how viable do you think stage 2 decks are? Is it just that Gardevoir, all the pieces have just fallen? It's a blessed evolution line in Curlier.
Yeah.
It just draws for days, including the Gardevoir from
Chilling Reign.
Shining
Chilling Reign.
Arcana.
Yeah, Chilling Rain. Yeah, Chilling Rain.
Oh, sorry.
Shining Arcana one, yeah.
Shining
Yeah.
Arcana. Yeah. Is it just that has all fallen into place? Because there's a lot of stage 2 decks in the format, and I think like the likes of Mew and Lugia, sometimes they just get set up so fast, and it's so hard to keep up with it with any other deck. But yeah,
I think for a stage 2 to be meta, it has to either have a way to cheat itself into play or be very consistent at getting itself into play, sort of like the Lugia V-Star, for example, just pops your Archeops into play, right? Or going back to that sort of Baxcalibur Chen Power example, that's a water type you can play 4 Irida. So it's going to be getting to that Baxcalibur going to be very easy, right? So it has to be easy to get out for a start. Like a Gardevoir EX now has the Curliers, so you can trade up until you get there. And ideally, the stage 2 has to be impactful of the game sort of immediately. Like when I think about the stage 2s that have been good before, like Archeops, for example, that's 4 special energy from the that's crazy value. Excalibur, we can just pile on energies onto your Chen Power, your KO stuff. Gardevoir, what was it, GX back in the day, with just Secret Spring, bang, something's KO'd, right? So if the stage 2 doesn't have both of those criteria, so me, I won't even entertain it for a regional or an IC.
Yeah.
And it's very rare that those stage 2s come around, right? Like looking at this EUIC, I don't think there's any other stage 2s apart from Gardevoir or Archeops, I guess. Because just inherently there's so much extra stuff you have to play, just makes you so inconsistent, especially in like this judge path format we're kind of in now, right? It's just gonna make finding a rare candy combo so hard. So as a rule of thumb, I probably tell people to never play a stage 2 for an IC or an new regional unless it's got some of that criteria that can just make it so inherently strong. Something like Vikavolt, Sun and Moon, for example. As soon as it came out, bang, that's 2 energy from the deck. Things are going. But if you're like a stage 2 that then needs to, I don't know, attach some energy somewhere else or have another stage 1 attacker, it just becomes way too inconsistent. And over like 9 to 15 rounds of Pokemon, you don't want to be fighting yourself with the deck, right? So sometimes you just want the deck to just go. Like Mew, for example, right? Just VIP, bomb, and you're gone, right? Yeah. So I think for the most part, stage 2s, I'm not a fan.
I did play it against deck. I think it was Magnezone EX, and he just absolutely walled me, and then he was just knocking me out because it does. Just, for one lightning energy, it does 50 damage for every energy attached towards the opponent's Pokemon. Yeah. So because I play Gardevoir, all my energy is attached to everything, so they're doing like 500 damage and a hit. And then just attaching another energy, and I was like, I'm stuck. I can't beat it. And then you know what? Actually, deck is I think is good. Well, against me anyway. It always seems to be me. Dialga always.
Yeah. I had it sleeved. To be fair. Yeah. That's another example. That's a stage 2 that you can possibly get a whole new turn, right? You can just skip your opponent's turn. It's a crazy up trade to make, but it's that risk. I think if you go first, you attach one Dialga, comes back to your turn, you attach another one, rare candy. You now have to hit 3 energy off that Giga Magnet to get the turn 2 Chronos. I mean, it's possible, but that's like the most high risk, high reward version of a deck I'd like to play, right? Because you can just win games if you pull it off, but then chances are sometimes if you don't pull it off, you're like Metal Blast 160, like great. Like.
I guess you only see it come off when you're playing against it, and you say, oh, that looks insane. Then you try it and you play 50 games and it comes off once. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
I think stage 2s, once all the Vs and V stars have rotated, they'll come into their own.
Do you think it's good for the game though? Do you think it's it's good for the game? If the slower games, longer games, is that good or?
I don't think there'll ever be another kind of V and V star. I think it was too overpowered. I think, and I think that now they're concentrating more on the comeback. I think stage 2s for quite a while.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I guess EXs before used to just be basics. I bet V and V styles were the same time. The first time you had 2 prizes evolving. Yeah, I wasn't really that much of a fan. The way they seem to be going now does seem to lend itself more to, cards like Iono and cards like the what's it called, the Squawker Billy. That's like Dene, but only on your first turn. So it's like they have looked at the game and thought, hold on, let's not. Let's try and slow this down a bit.
Yeah.
But then they do print cards like that Chen Pao, which I think is crazy. 60 for each energy you discard is nuts.
The
So
whole Palkia was my favorite. Palkia was my favorite deck last year, and the fact that water, and it's just the water's been really struggling since. I mean, Kyurem, I never liked the Kyurem package. I think it did okay in some regionals last year, but never really hit through. And it's just so inconsistent. I'm looking forward to a new water deck.
This honestly, I'm looking at the Bats Caliber now. Chances are this will be my NEIC deck. It's insane. 4 Irida, 4 superior energy retrievals. Oh goodness gracious me! Like this was the first deck I ever played KOD last. I was like, I got so nostalgic just looking at it. Yeah, I think this deck's gonna be crazy. To be fair, I can't wait.
No, I'm looking forward to. I was looking today actually at I've ordered some booster boxes of Paldea Evolved.
Oh, nice.
Looking forward to it,
what does the Bats Caliber do? What's this?
So the Bats Caliber lets you attach as many water energy from your hand to your Pokemon as you like in a turn. And then the Chen Pao, this is a basic EX, does 60 for each energy you discard. And it's got an ability where it's in the active, you can like capacious bucket. So you can like put one in the active, switch, or pay retreat with Skaters Park, and you've got 4 in your hand now. Attach, choice belt, you just one-shot stuff. It's honestly. Then superior energy retrievals in the set as well, which lets you discard 2 from your hand and get 4 energy back from your discard. So you can just like use one of them, use your ability on Chen Pao. You just one-shot anything in your face or in your way. Honestly, it's gonna be fun. Like,
could be time for Miraidon. It could be time for Miraidon.
I speak to Metal though. Speak to Metal.
Oh, is it Metal? Is it? Of course.
Yes,
we got to Dialga. Get to Dialga.
Oh well, here you go. Now this way, I think if loads of people playing Chen Pao, does Dialga get better? I mean, it probably would, right? So there's that meta game, and so.
Oh, brilliant. One of the last couple of questions from me anyway is obviously so I'm only speaking from my side. When I go and play at my local game shop, I watch your videos. I watch loads of other YouTuber videos, and I look at their deck lists and I basically imitate it. And I copy it and I try and use it at my local game shops, and make your own tweaks, etc. You make your own obviously small tweaks how you play. Given that obviously you are the content creator, how do you approach building decks? So what's kind of your approach? Building decks.
As in like a new deck from scratch that no one's built before?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah. There's actually the videos where I like build a deck for under £5 or £10. That pretty much goes through my whole thought process, really. But like for the most part, like it would again be like looking at the meta, trying to work out what how you can target it, and then let's take that Cherrim Snorlax deck for example. A basic Pokemon that can't be hit by Lost Box is Lost Mine, right? That was the building block, right? It's like, okay, how do I power this thing up? Well, you can use like, and after that, you literally just go on live and just look at every way to accelerate energy. So I was even looking at like the stage 2 Quavel. You could use that. Probably think, pros and then literally just write down pros and cons. Pros are you can play Port Irida, great card, con you as stage 2. And then you just go through them all. We had like Armor Rouge, Magma Basing combo. Then moving down the list, had the Cherrim, and I thought, wait, well, this already did well kind of in Liverpool. How can I change it for this format? And you just make some tweaks and then keep it moving from there. And I think to be fair, it's just sometimes just playing games. Like I tried the deck without the Curlier line, for example. I found I'd always get Rock Sand in the late game, and that was it, game over. So how do I fix that? 2/2 Curlier with the Gallade, so I can just buddy catch up for whatever I need to. And then if they try and boss KO that means my Snorlax is still there, so that can just swing again. And it's sometimes it's just putting in reps. Sometimes if you can come up with an idea that's so inherently strong against the meta, you don't need to test it that much. Like I'm sure Alex didn't really need to test crazy statements, mate. Probably didn't need to test so much against Lugia because he just knew he had an auto in there, right? So, and some of it's just experience. Sometimes you can just sort of spot a gap in the meta and target it. But if you think something's going to be good, just try it and see what happens. Like for every every like one deck that slams that I make, there's probably like 5 that don't. You just know, no one ever sees them, right? So, so yeah, just having an eye on the meta. Just always have a look at Limitless, see what pops up. Play Limitless as well, and think, oh, this card might do good now, for example. And then just trying out games and just seeing what happens.
Okay, brilliant. And then the final question from me is quite a generic one. What's your favorite Pokemon?
My favorite Pokemon is Single Strike Urshifu, actually. That is my favorite. Ever since I was a kid, I always wanted to be like a cool fighting type legendary, and like Terrakion don't really count, right? That's like a goat thing. And then Urshifu came out, and I was like, this is a bit of me right here. The big geezer wants to just lash something out the way. I was like, yes, this is my boy. So yeah, that is my favorite Pokemon. Before that, it was Machamp.
That got me back in.
Was it Single Strike? Yeah. So it was. That was like Evolving Skies time. It was like arguably best deck in format. That was a fun time.
Yeah, unless you're playing against it.
Yeah, true.
Okay, well, thanks for that. So then, obviously, we have mentioned EUIC quite a lot. So I thought, obviously, I thought it'd probably be best now we talk about the tournament itself. Obviously, the tournament itself, over 1,500 people attended and competed. I think Pokemon themselves said it was the largest Pokemon event in history. Their history, which just goes to show how strong this it's growing, and it's not stopping anytime soon. You know, a lot of people, especially collectors, thought it would, the bubble would burst towards the end, after lockdown, because a lot of people getting the nostalgia. It's going from strength to strength, and just the good thing is now we can actually find stock in shops. But which was a real big issue at the start. I started as a collector. Yeah, not the Pokemon pop-up shop. Yeah, we'll probably talk about that. Did you manage to get to the Pokemon pop-up shop, Shay? Yeah.
I did. Do you want to talk about it now or later?
Let's go now. Why not?
I had a funny story. So I think what was the competing day? Friday. So I had an appointment for Friday, 1 o'clock. It was. I just made it randomly. I just thought maybe if the stars align, I have an early round, I can head in. Didn't happen. So I get down there at like 3, and I'm thinking I've already heard that the backpack's gone. I'm like, fine. That's okay. I didn't want it anyway because it wasn't pink. Pink's like my favorite color, right? So this is like my event, right? Like the deck box is pink, the max. So I get down there, I'm in the queue, and I'm thinking, time's gonna get called soon. I ain't really got a long time. I'm like messaging the group chat, like, how long's left on the round? So I get to the front, like the front bit, like once the guy who checks your appointment, I get to there. And I'm like, listen, I'm a competitor. I got my badge, obviously. I'm a competitor. I missed my slot by like an hour or 2. Can I still come in? And he goes, oh, wait, you're a competitor. I'm like, yeah. He goes, oh, that means you can probably jump the queue, right? And I was like, I don't know. And he said, yeah. So he just walked me around. Everyone's giving me daggers. And I'm like, I ain't gonna say no, am I?
Was it the blonde guy with like long hair? By any chance?
It might have been long hair, actually. It might have been. I think it might have been slightly older, my guy, actually. But yeah, he walked me to the front, and I was like, right, I've got 10 minutes now. Zip around the place. Did manage to get a deck box and a mat. They were the 2 main things I wanted. Couldn't get the bag. Wasn't really fussed about the sleeves, and then got like some socks and whatnot. But but yeah, no, I was quite happy. I was quite lucky, to be fair, that my guy sorted me out like that, because I don't know what I would have done otherwise.
So our story is going to be very similar then.
Is it? Okay.
So we I finished one of my games. I think I finished my round 3 game really early. So I thought I'm going to try and get it to the Pokemon Center. And as I got there was no queue on the outside. I was like, right, I'm going in. And then you turn the corner, and then you see all these people in pens, and I was like, oh god. So we actually had a slot. We actually booked for 3 o'clock. So we went and had lunch. We did the next couple of rounds, and we weren't doing very well. So we were like, we're going to drop. Let's drop. And well, I wasn't doing very well. So I was like, come on, guys, let's just drop.
It happens on a win streak.
It happens on a win streak, yeah. But we decided to then drop, and we went to the Pokemon Center. It was our time, 3 o'clock, same as. Went and got put into the queue, then got put into the pen, and then I was like, what now? So then the guy next to us, I was like, he was one of the guys that were looking after it. I just said, what's going on? He was like, well, they're over there, they're 2 o'clock. They're over there, they're 2:30, and you're 3 o'clock. And I was like, but it's 3 o'clock now, and you tell him 2 o'clock's not even gone in yet. And he was like, yeah, it's about an hour wait. And I was like,
an hour wait.
And I was like, well, we've got our next round. We didn't tell him we dropped, but I was like, we've got our next round. And he was like,
Yeah.
competitors. I went, yeah. And he went, okay, follow me. And the exact same. The amount of evils and dirty looks we got was awful. We managed to get in. Again, the bag had gone. I got deck. We got deck boxes. We got sleeves. All the mats had gone, and I think that's one of the things we really wanted more than anything, to be honest. So
is that not a mat there behind you? Is that not the mat there?
It is.
Oh, okay, sorry. I might just read your story. Sorry, you carry on.
Good eyes, good eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, sweet talk someone.
Right, okay.
I got told by one of the guys I was playing that loads of people were buying them, and then when they got to the actual the pay bit, they were told, sorry, you can only have one. So there was loads behind the counter. So I went and spoke to someone. I was like, is there any behind the counter? And they were like, no, none at all. I was like, right. And he was like, go and speak to someone who stocks up, and they might see if there's any. So I went and spoke to someone. He was like, I just stock up this area. There's none. If you need to, go and speak to someone with an earpiece. And we found a guy and gave him a sob story, which was quite true. The fact that
it was true. It wasn't.
It was true. And all we wanted, we are players, and we wanted the mat more than anything, to be honest. And he actually went in the back and got 3 out for us.
Nice.
We were very lucky. We were very lucky because then when I was paying, there was a woman. There was a very angry woman saying, I can't believe the queue for 2 hours and there's no mats. And I'm like, just like,
guys, packing it for him.
Put it in the bag, put it in the bag. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people have complained about, the organisation. I mean, we were at Worlds as spectators last year. That there was no organisation. It was a free-for-all after day one.
It was.
Given the fact that competitors, I mean, the problem they have is the scalpers. They're out there now selling these 19.99 mats for 60 to 70 to 80 quid, and because they're
Is that how much they're going for?
Yeah. Because they're evolutions, people are desperate for them. And there was I saw a lot of them in a lot of groups and Facebook groups and trades, etc. There's people saying, please go, and someone go down and get us a mat, and there were people struggling. Should Pokemon, for the competitors, because we were there the Thursday, the day before, to sign in and obviously register with our swag bag, should we have like an opportunity to go in as competitors? Because you're penalised. So we knew someone actually made. One of the guys in our local game shop actually made top 17. Phil D'Souza.
Oh, nice.
He made top. 17.
Yeah, I know him.
You know Phil, yeah.
So I know Phil.
He couldn't go. He couldn't go because he made day 2. And he made so he was penalised by playing. And it was a mat. I know competitors get their own mat, and I do get that, and I understand that. But given that the essentially the event is there for the players, the Pokemon Center side event, surely we should hopefully be able to get in a bit earlier. Don't know what your opinion on that is.
Earlier for Worlds for competitors.
No, there was no early entry for competitors either.
If
it was up to me, I think it would make sense to have entry for players on the Thursday.
Yeah.
As long as you've got your pass, right? That makes most sense to me. Actually police this one product per person, because I know that wasn't getting followed, or like the bags for some reason, or maybe the bags wasn't part of that, but either way. But yeah, just it makes sense. All the players and only the players are there on Thursday, right? Maybe don't even put it on socials that players can go in on Thursday. Just have it as a look, you can now. That way people aren't going to try and bombard it. And then I'm sure most players, there are going to be some people that are trying to game the system, but most people just want a mat, a deck box, some sleeves maybe.
Exactly.
And then that alleviates pressure on the Friday and Saturdays of players trying to get bouncing, and when have some people getting walked to the front like us, and some people that didn't. I know some people didn't. So that would make sense to me. But I was actually chatting to the head of EU Pokemon at EUIC, and he was just like, we thought we stepped it up enough to where we'd have enough product, and we clearly have just got it wrong. So I think it is something that they are aware of, and they don't intentionally put out a service like this.
No.
But I think the problem is, like you said, is people are just trying to buy for resale, right? People just want to I'm looking at eBay now, and there's like so many, and they're like starting off at about 70 quid. This one's 120. That's what 6x they paid for.
They brought the pens in, the holding pens, so you couldn't just literally go in, buy one, go back in and buy another.
Oh, is that what they were for? Right,
I guess.
Right.
Because at Worlds, they had the playmats. Again, we struggled to get playmats. I actually had to buy one on eBay and to get one at Worlds. which frustrated me. But I really liked it, and it was when I was there at Worlds. But they were 5 per person. Like I'm glad they've brought
just
this
went.
on in.
They go.
We went
People
We went the Thursday. So we drove down the Thursday morning. We got into Excel Centre in the Thursday afternoon early. You're talking about 1-2 o'clock. We chanced it. We got in. They were gone. They were gone Wednesday.
Yeah.
So you just never, you can't get there in time. But
I remember for Worlds, I had my appointment for, was it when was Worlds? When was the Thursday was the first day for Worlds, right? I mean, I had mine Friday. I thought I'd game the system a little bit. I go the day after.
They did open Wednesday though, apparently.
Yeah.
Did they?
They opened Wednesday night because I remember there's a YouTuber that I met that day, Vivian Frank. I don't know if you know Vivian. Holy Grail. He does a lot of open. He's mainly a collector mainly, and he does me. He did a video that I watched whilst packing for Worlds, and he did. This is the Pokemon Center at Worlds, and I was watching that the night before because he went that day and he released it straight away on YouTube. So
was that like just for press or something? No, was that like a media entry?
No, I no idea. Maybe there's potential, but yeah, because we thought Thursday and we thought we'd be fine, but yeah, we weren't. But
what was the Worlds map? I can't even remember. What was it? World Centre map. I can't even remember. I never got one.
Logo. It was blue, I think.
Oh yes, it was the split, right? It looked well good as well. I think I know the one you're on about. Yeah, that was a gorgeous map.
I saw it and I was like, I really want that mat to play with because at the time I was still using just a random mat. But yeah, I was like, I want that.
Also, what happens, Shay, when you're like casting? Do you have the opportunity to go to the pop-up shop as well? Like,
I've never had to cast. I haven't had a chance to cast an IC yet. So, but from what I gather, I think it was a little bit touch and go whether the casters got a timing. I think when they were filming, if you watch the stream, they had like a segment where they were. Who's that VGC caster? I forgot her name. Is it Netcrawl or something? But she was walking around the center, and then like some of the EUIC casters are in there. I think that was filmed on like the Wednesday off the top of my head. So they do get a time. But if you didn't, you would never get a chance to get in there. You get like 1 hour. You get like a 1 hour break max. You couldn't get in that queue. But oh yeah, here's the mat. Yeah, that's gorgeous. Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get one either. Yeah.
And I saw it. And I was like, I want it. And unfortunately, I had to pay the premium, but. It was worth it for me because, like I said, I'd been there and I wanted that. But yeah, it's just again, it's hard. It's the difficulty, isn't it, of the scalpers, and that's those in every kind of industry there is scalping of sorts. So you're always going to struggle. So at least they brought the one per person. So okay, enough about Pokemon Center then. Should we actually talk about actual results?
Yeah, go on then. So
the top 8, some big names which we expected. So the actual tournament itself was won by Alex Szymanski, who ran an Arcdura deck. The final was against Tord Reklev, Tord running obviously the Gardevoir deck. The rest of the top 8 was finished by Pablo Meza running Mew. You got Pedro Torres running Lost Box, Aidan Koos, who just won with Eternatus, and Coughing, he got 5th with Lost Zone Goo. Trevor Reed went with Lugia, Eric Rodriguez with Lugia, and then to finish the top 8, Robert Kimbrum with Miraidon. So yeah, it was interesting really to see such a widespread. It's interesting to see firstly Miraidon getting a top 8 finish. I think that was the biggest shock for me because I didn't think I'd see it anywhere. And I think going into it, we all thought Lost Box is just king. It's going to be Lost Box central. And whilst I did play a lot of Lost Box, only one in the top 8 was pretty impressive. I think there's only one in the top 14. So then you've got time.
Every deck was different except for Lugia.
Yeah, you've even got a Rapid Strike box there as well on 11th. That's quite interesting. Yeah. So it was a really interesting time, a really interesting spread. But obviously, Alex took the win. Alex Szymanski, not our Alex. Just to clarify that. And obviously, Alex's deck, Arcdura. But I think the big tech for this was the Alolan Vulpix V and V Star. Phenomenal how he just thought about it, to be honest, how he can make decks like this and how it works as well. Obviously you've got the Colress, you've got the Gardevoir, you've got the Arceus, the Dura, you've got the Drapion for the Mew matchup, and then like you showed in stream, the Vulpix just shut it down. So do you reckon we'll start seeing an influx now of Alolan Vulpixes in decks now, or do you reckon we'll see things to counter that?
Is that for me? Can I go?
Just in general, go for it. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna. I guarantee you now, going for league challenges and cups, there's gonna be so many people playing that exact list or very close to it. I found that people tend to like the sort of promote my wall and win kind of decks. I found that like when I'm getting to categories, I get to like, look at people's deck lists and statistics, and I see these kind of decks always tend to do well, or at least get played a lot, right?
Yeah.
So if I was going to cups and that now, I would 100% play an out. That's better than memory skip for Alolan Vulpix because it's going to be everywhere now. Because it's so inherently strong. If your opponent doesn't have an out, you just win games, right? Tor managed to like get a sneaky game in the finals, but realistically, Alex was never going to lose. So you do have to play an out for this now. And I actually uploaded a video today where I was looking at the EUIC results and just explaining what I think how decks should move forward. And if I was going to a League Cup and I wanted to play Arc Duraludon, I'd actually consider just cutting the Vulpix now because it's going to be no good if everyone's got outs for it. As soon as you put the Vulpix V down, everyone knows, right, let me just get my out. And now you've got, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You have 4 cards in your deck, including the Water Energy, that are now your opponent can play around.
Useless.
So I would get rid of them and just play like max consistency, maybe go to like a 4th judge to hand swap that way. But yeah, I think it was good for exactly this event. Give it like a couple regionals time where I would imagine, because what tends to happen is kind of decks, they start off really well, then their success goes down because everyone techs for them, and then when they're not doing very good, everyone thinks, oh, no one's playing Art Duraludon anymore, I can get rid of my techs. Then you then that's when you play it, and then the ball is out, and everyone's like, damn it,
that is the story of Art Duraludon, really.
Pretty much.
No, definitely.
I actually played against a guy playing Arc Duraludon with Vulpix on live like weeks ago, and I've been trying out Mimikyu EX, and it was the one game that I put in Mimikyu EX in, and he just it's because I've been going between, so I obviously have the Zacian, and I've been going between Mimikyu EX and Weirdeer as like a
Weirdeer works, it does actually. That's
it's got an ability, so but Mimikyu X is good against Lugia as well, because Lugia generally has 4 energy on it. You got 120 plus your 30, so I quite like Mimikyu X.
Yeah, that's the conclusion I came to my video. That I'm not sure what the right answer is for Gardevoir right now, but I think the easiest one seems to be the Mimikyu. I think. So
we'll see an influx of that, but obviously, second place was Tord with the Gardevoir deck. We obviously spoke about the Gardevoir deck at length, and to be honest, again, give it fair play to Tord. Completely different to what I expected a Gardevoir deck to be. So obviously the additions were, it was pretty much a standard Gardevoir deck. He played one of the routes with the memory skip. Only played one Gardevoir with Shining Arcana, but then doubled up on his Zacian V, which I thought was quite a good tactic, because then he can be really aggressive at the start while setting up the routes in the background and the Gardevoir. But the big surprise to me was the Luminion, the Miriam, and the Penny, to be honest. And the fact that there was no emergency jelly. Obviously, emergency jelly was touted as the thing that was needed for this deck, and but it was good seeing some initiative, really, and some innovation from Tord. Obviously, Miriam allows him to get Pokemon back from the discard and draw. Penny is able to also help him if someone's peppered, like 110 cram or a lost mind from Sableye. Penny just penny up
for the Gardevoir, though, wouldn't you, to pick it back up and
I think it just works basics, Penny.
It's only basics.
Just play it, all right.
But what you could do is pick up Luminion back, stuff like this. Get Mew out the active, pick up the Zacian
as
well.
He's got I saw collapsed as well. So
that's what I saw Tord too. I saw him on stream, like effortlessly, put down Luminion, got boss's orders, played Collapse Stadium straight away, got rid of that 2 prizer and bossed up. So just the fluidity of these on his play was phenomenal, and it was good to see obviously a new deck do really well. Like you said, Shay, I'm not sure where the next thing is really, but it's a Mimikyu EX seems like a good option. I wonder if there's any of those boxes.
I think for the next set, there's that Cape of Toughness
Yeah,
clone.
yeah,
The
that's how it
charm.
goes.
That's going to
charm,
be
yeah.
with Drifloon that you can just get 300 damage on a on a Pokemon you can rescue carrier back into your into your deck is
True.
you just keep putting them back in and just whacking them out, and yeah, it's gonna be I think that's gonna be a staple.
Yeah.
I thought
Uh,
the crazy thing was looking at this list is that there was no Mirage depth earlier, just 4 of the trade ones, right?
Yeah.
Which was something a conclusion I came to myself for. I never found myself using this Mirage deck. Like, do we actually
Me
need
neither.
it? And
Yeah.
Tord was like, no, I don't need it. So
Yeah.
get that out. I don't mind it. Yeah.
Definitely. So moving on to the third place, obviously Pablo Meza with the Mew deck. Obviously, like Shay said beforehand, the Judge Path meta just works. It just works really
Plays
well.
4 of them as well.
4 paths,
It's a nightmare.
3 judges, 1 Roxanne, 3 bosses orders, and Avery is really good as well. I saw some chatter on Twitter before EUIC saying don't sleep on Avery. Avery's was a really good card, and I thought that came to fruition. 4 Lost Vacuum was quite a big one as well, which obviously helps him get in and out of paths, etc. Echoing Horn standard seems to be coming back, but then the Fan of Waves to help in the mirror and also Lugia matchup was quite good as well. So yeah, so congrats to Pablo. So he did really well. I know he himself wasn't too happy with his performance against Tord in the top 4 match, but I think
You
he
can't be
did
too
really
bad.
well.
You can't feel too bad about doing bad against Tord sometimes.
No.
Sometimes he just pops off and you can't do anything.
And then rounding up the top 4 was obviously Pedro Torres with it was the Lost Box. It was the Zard Lost Box.
Yeah.
Using Pidgeot V as well. So a Miltank. And obviously the worst kept secret in the history of that Mawile. Everyone beforehand was like, oh, I think this is going to be like the secret weapon of Lost Box. And then everyone literally beforehand, I saw so many people saying, anyone got a Mawile? Anyone got a Mawile?
Yeah.
It wasn't the best kept secret, but I'm not surprised to see a Lost Box in there. It is a fantastic deck, and I think we're going to see a lot more of it. I don't think it's going away anytime soon. Do you guys want to check out the rest? Obviously, we've got Aiden Koos using the Gudra at the 5th spot. Looking at it again, the differences that I had from mine were mainly energy recycler. I played one more Melanie instead of an energy recycler. I played Raihan as well instead of Roxanne, and I used Temple of Sinnoh instead of Crystal Cave. But overall, I think obviously he did a lot better than me. So Aiden's list as well. And I've actually seen on the ladder and some YouTube videos now where a lot of Lost Zone Goo decks are running a 1/1 of Alolan Vulpix as well. So I'd see it texting everywhere now. So it's the moment that they get the counter to that, the better. But then we've got the Lugia decks. Now, if I remember correctly, this one hasn't won one of an arc of a Duraludon.
Oh yeah.
For the mirror, which I thought was really clever. I thought that was really clever and a really, really good deck, that, and it just goes to show that Lugia was going nowhere, was it really? If whilst obviously Evolution Incense, Quick Ball was tough, it was tough to lose them, and obviously capturing Aroma's not really I would say reliable. The fact that you've obviously got Burnett, you see a lot more Burnett's being played now. I've seen Zinnia Resolves
Thornton in Lugia as well. I don't see many Thorntons in Lugia.
Yeah. And it can hit. The Tyranitar is scary when it gets going, and you can get the 4 single strike energy that hits really, really hard, and then you can get the urns back. So it's really, really good. So I mean, Lugia's my favorite Pokemon, Shay.
Was it? Nice.
So the moment that the Lugia deck came out, I was like, I'm running it. Unfortunately, it bricked for me in Liverpool as well. But I did play some pretty good players. I played Owen, if you know Owen Cameron.
Yeah, I know him.
Played Owen in the mirror match, and I played some very good players, so I learned a lot from that. But do you see Lugia still, just given just how incredible the energy acceleration is in Archeops, do you see Lugia sticking around, maybe even evolving away from the Tyranitar adding more stuff in. Like I would never have thought of putting a Duraludon in Lugia, but that's why I'm not top 8 in the UIC.
Yeah, it's definitely going to hang around. Archeops is like one of the most broken cards I've ever seen. So being able to pop it turn 2 is crazy. Whether or not it stays in the single strike, but I'm not sure. I mean, if you told me before EUIC people were going to be fitting in another stage 1 into Lugia, I'd be like, get off it. There's no way. Like the deck for me already felt super inconsistent, but obviously it works. So I think moving forward, I don't know if Duraludon. I mean, it's always good against Lugia, right? I mean, I guess actually, unless they played a single strike Urshifu, so I'm not even sure if it's still the way to go. It might fall in the same way as Vulpix, where I think you might have to lean away from it. One thing I do want to try with Lugia is that sort of that colorless style build where you can play like the Snorlax, loads of Cherins.
Yeah.
I feel like that gets better next set though. When what's that? There's that energy. I think that means Snorlax can never fall asleep. So I think the thing is with Lugia though, like it sounds inconsistent and not that great on paper, but when it pops, it just can slap anything in its way. Like for example, if you see like if Gardevoir takes off now because Tor played it and it got second, like if you just play that single strike Yveltal, you have such a good matchup into that, provided you set up right. You've got your one prize Stone Journer for like fighting weak stuff like Miraidon. Like you can play double Stone Journer. That is so good in stuff like Miraidon. Like, they literally can't do nothing about it. But it's just whether or not you can wrestle with your deck for 9 rounds. I don't know if I could do it. Lugia before rotation was like an absolute wonder beat stick. Now it's a bit like there's a lot of faffing about going on. Like you got only having 4 Ultra Ball to discard Archeops is crazy. Outside of Professor Burn It. So I'm not sure. It's probably the deck I should have played for EUIC, considering I had no time to test. Because when this deck pops off, it just goes, right? But I would still be hesitant to play it myself. But in saying that, it just hits so hard. Like, I don't know. Tyler's RP can just the amount of time I was just playing against Demi. And Demi's a much better player than me. Like, make no doubt about it. But just because I just go, I've got turn 2, so I win. Like, and even in this format now, even working off one Archeops isn't as much of a death sentence anymore because decks tend to be a little bit slower anyway. Like, there's plenty of times before where I'd go off one Archeops and it's like, well, if you have a loaded Tyranitar, right? If your opponent goes to take out your Archeops, that's fine. On my Tyranitar charge just slams again. Now I'm at 4 prizes. Like, So it's not like the end of the world. So I think it's still a very good deck.
This time round,
Exactly. So I think it's still a very good deck, and I think it will still hang around. I wouldn't be surprised if, let's say, for Malmo to run into like 2 or 3 Lugias. I wouldn't be surprised at all.
Okay. Yeah, no, definitely. I still think it's the deck to beat, and I just think, like you said, I think I was saying it to Andy before you. I just said when that sets up, it's the hardest hitting deck going.
No, it
is.
But
it's getting it set up. It's too inconsistent, really. So. But then, rounding out the top 8 was obviously Robert Kimbrum in the Miraidon. The Miraidon, EX deck, very, very standardized now. 4 Regielekis, 4 Regieleki VMAXs. You've got the 3 Miraidons, 2 Raikou, and then you're breeding Greninja, and the rest of it. The difference that I've seen this between other lists is no one was playing Cram. No one was playing Cramomatic in them, and it's fair play. It's really good. So I kind of just think and also 15 energy. Most lists I saw were playing 12 to 13. So he's obviously going more consistency. And when, like you said, it just sets up. Turn 1, you can set up your bench, and it's phenomenal. It's those electric generators.
Miraidon is scary when Raikou can hit turn 1. When the Miraidon's going second and Raikou's already powered up and hitting for like. If you set up your bench, he set up his bench, and he's hitting for 220 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I was just hoping that the price of Regieleki VMAXs put people off playing it.
Yeah.
Did you notice that, Shay, before EUIC? Because I bought a VMAX on eBay about 6 weeks before, and it cost me £3 and then £1 delivery. I tried to get one more before EUIC, the week leading up to EUIC, and the cheapest I was quoted was £19.
19. Was this Silver Tempest? Yeah. It's funny. I did an article for my first ever article since I started writing again for TCG Player was cards that. Or was it? No, it might have been a video I did on my channel actually. Like cards you need to buy now, right?
Yeah.
One of them was Regieleki V. I was like, if Marathon does any semblance of good, this card's going to get crazy.
Yeah.
And now I'm looking at this graph. I'm like, if you people listen to me, you'd be sound. But if you didn't, oh my goodness. So it's just like
Exactly.
$21 now. Like, that's
It's
crazy.
obscene, isn't it? It is absolutely insane. Yeah.
Yes.
Because I was doing a trade with someone because I pulled something. I was doing a trade with someone, and I was like, "Oh, Regieleki VMAX, you know, I'll take that as well." And then they were like, "Well, that's actually like the value is about £25 of eBay recent solds." I was like, "What?"
25 quid.
And I was like, "Right now, forget it. I
25
like 4 weeks ago."
quid.
Is it still like that now?
I think it has dropped a bit, because you just saw an influx of people just all of a sudden realizing these Regieleki VMAXs were worth money, so they were just selling them. So I do think it's hopefully it's come down because I need one more, but I was playing with proxy, but yeah. No, it's good to see again another EX deck in the top 8 as well, and it's nice to see some variety. So that's the top 8. Again, you want to talk quickly just about how your performances went. Obviously, the less to talk about mine, the better. But I did the worst out of the group. But Shay, how did your run go?
Well, like the day before, I should have played Mew, but I ended up picking that Shadow Rider Klefki nonsense, which sounds good on paper, right? But after playing it, the first time playing the deck was literally round 1. And yeah, I ended up going like 0-4 drops. The deck is dreadful. That deck is dreadful. Thing is, because in the run up to EUIC, I was testing Bennett Hammers, right? Bennett Hammers with 4 Klefki. And I worked out this 4 Klefkis is really good, right? Like this wins games sometimes on its own. But this just isn't the deck for it. So I just sort of put it to the back of my head. And then when Demi came around the night before we left, he was watching like an Omnipote video. I think it might have been the top 10 decks coming to EUIC. And he kept on mentioning the Shadow Rider deck. And right at the end, he was explaining what it was. And I was like, oh wait, this is a 4 Klefki deck. And it's Strafe. This is the deck I was picturing in my head, but never put together. I was like, oh, I'm building this, I'm playing this, and I just wish I didn't. Like the deck, the deck was hot garbage in the nicest possible. If there's any listeners to you that you think you really like Shadow Rider and you're really good with it, maybe you are. Play another deck, you'll be much better, I promise you. So don't waste any more time on that deck. It's awful.
You had so much hopes as well, because before UIC, you were chatting and you were like, well, I said obviously can you come on after UIC? You were like, well, if my deck does well, you'll have the exclusive.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah.
Oh,
well,
it's a shame,
yeah.
but
I was testing. Honestly, if you check my TCG live before, I had so much ideas going on.
Yeah.
Art Dryadon was one of them. So yeah, some of them were right, but then some of them was not, unfortunately. So, but don't worry, NAIC, I'll be coming up with a big finish for that one. That's my next.
Yeah.
Definitely, we will be cheering for you. 100%, we'll be cheering for you. Andy, how did your deck get on?
So I played Lost Box, but it's the turbo variation, but I dropped the 2 Forest Seal stones for a Sky Seal.
Okay.
So you dropped the turbo element of it.
Yeah.
That turbo.
Yeah.
And I didn't play the so it was kind of like the turbo without the, well, it wasn't turbo then, without the Forest Seals stones and the Lost Vacuum. But I still had the Raikou, Dragonite, Drapion. I took Zapdos, Galarian Zapdos V out.
Okay.
For, Dragonite. I was gonna play that. Well, I'm glad I did now because I didn't face a single Miraidon.
Yeah.
So I think I played quite all right, basically. Couple of struggles, like the match I won was Zoroark.
Zoroark bot. Oh, okay. When the Zoroark bot sounds like, yo, what was that? that was another idea I had.
But he was playing the 2 Empoleons.
Of course he was.
So the first game was me just watching him slamming every single one of my Pokemon with one single Empoleon because I couldn't do anything. Second game, I managed to win using the Sky Seal Stone. The last prizes I needed to take were on Zoroark V-Star. And then the third game, I managed to get 2 of his Zoroarks heavily damaged and then Sableye them for 4 prizes.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I managed to pull it back. So that was the best I'd played with that deck, I think.
So overall, you happy you went with that deck, and are you going to still main it
I did.
following the EUIC?
So that was like 2 weeks prior to that was the first time me really picking up Lost Box. I'd played a bit like online previously, but I've never played it properly in IRL. But yeah, I think I might stay with it for a while.
Yeah,
cool.
It's not going anywhere, and
no,
exactly.
It's still going to be prevalent.
No, it's not.
Still going to be prevalent. Kath, how did you get on? Did you play anyone interesting?
So yes, I did. I played Mew VMAX. Met obviously a Drapion in every match.
Every deck list has a Drapion now.
Yeah.
everyone takes
But the Drapion that I had in my deck was quite useful when I got a mirror. So
was you playing DT build or Fusion, by the way? Just
Fusion.
Nice, love that.
With a Roseanne's backup as well.
Nice.
Just to put it back in.
Get it back. Yeah.
Whichever one, whoever's got Fusion Strike Energy attached gets targeted.
Yeah.
That drops Meloetta's drops the damage output. But yeah, won my first game against Lost Box Giratina. And then second game got paired with Natalie Miller.
Oh no.
When I refreshed,
God.
the pairings,
Jesus.
I was like, wait, the Natalie Miller? So obviously lost that game. But yeah, she was amazing.
That's the problem of winning your first game. It happened to me in Liverpool. When my first game, I was like, oh, this is easy. And then I got paired with Owen, and I was like, okay. And I didn't even know who Owen was at the time. And then as his name came up, I was like, I do recognise that. And I Googled it. I was like, okay, he's just ranked second best in Europe. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's it. Winning the first game puts you into a false sense of security.
Yeah, you got to lose your first game and then make
that was my tactic when I lost the rest.
I'd love to say it was a close match, but it really wasn't. And then we got deck checked afterwards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It was like everything all at once. So I was very nervous. Obviously my deck was fine, but this was my first time that I put my deck in Arcanine and stuff. And I was very meticulous and making sure that I had done it all right. But there was that still.
There's always that.
I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, no. Especially if maybe a sleeve's got ding that you haven't realised, and you're always nervous at that.
It did have to change. There was one Cramomatic that they didn't like the corner of, and I was like, I've not hit a heads on Cramomatic, so it's not even like I would want to find that card anyway.
Yeah, let's replace it for a basic energy. It's probably better.
But yeah, that whole process was fine, and obviously nothing to worry about. It was just my first time, and everything seemed to be happening all at once. And then game 3 was a win. But what did I play?
Was that the mirror?
Was that that must have been the mirror?
Because you won against Arc, right? On the first game. Or am I making that up?
Do you know? It's completely gone. There was definitely a mirror in there.
So didn't you play the last game you played was the mirror because you left on a win, didn't you? Which was the fourth game.
Yeah, after I made you all drop. So we go to Pokemon Center.
Yeah. Yeah, so then when we were like watching the stream, I was like, that could have been me. That could have been me if we just didn't go to the shop.
You wouldn't have had a play mat. You wouldn't have had a play mat though, so you never had a play mat. Yeah, no, obviously Kath did the best out of all of us. I mean, speaking to you guys, and obviously we went with a couple of others from our local game shop. We've got quite a big scene in Manchester as well. Like I said, Phil made top 17. We've got Matt Byram as well, who made top 50. Sorry, was it 60? Made. But we had quite a few.
Oh, nice.
I think there was 15 of us in total. Who went down from Fanboy and Geek Retreat, and yeah, talking to everyone played such a varied amount of decks. Apart from me, I literally played 2 different decks the whole day. I played Lost Box twice and Guardy twice as well. So it was yeah, and I drew to both Guardies and I lost to both Lost Boxes. One of my players was actually another Australian YouTuber called OKJLove.
Oh yeah, I know him. Yeah, he sounds like he is.
Yeah, no, he's sound. We had a bit of a couple of issues with decks and stuff that we had to get judges involved, but he was really understanding and he was really sound, to be 100% honest. So yeah, I'm hoping to catch up with him to see how he went on after. But yeah, Lost Goo, I'll keep it short and sweet. It tested phenomenally the whole time I tested. I think I lost like 1 or 2 games, so I went in quite confident, and then it just bricked. It bricked so badly to the point where I think I was put in my 3rd game against a Lost Box. I got to, I think, round 6, and I had 4 in the Lost Zone and had a single Colress experiment, and they were set up and they were on like 10, ready for Lost Mine. I was like, oh, that's not good. But I still love the deck. I think Lost Goo is still a good shout really for local tournaments and stuff. So I think a lot of people are going to start again teching for it with the Dura potentially for NIC. But yeah, overall it was really good experience. My first time going to an EUIC. And IC in general, and yeah, can't wait for more. So yeah, hopefully do a better showing next time, and hopefully Ali can join us as well next time.
Yeah. So, I wasn't there at the EUIC. I wish I was.
So then moving on to, we've been chatting for quite some time. Don't want to keep Shay too long, but we've got a couple of bits of news, and then we've got obviously our RTFC segment. The 2 bits of news really that are sticking out at the moment, and obviously. Shay, you mentioned Ethan Heggie before in relation to some of the content that he does, obviously over in Japan. He actually released a video today. I don't know if anyone's seen it, about he came across in a tournament someone with a marked card, like an obvious marked card, and he was told just to carry on. They were told just to carry on. Apparently there was nothing wrong with it. They carried on as is over in Japan.
Yeah.
There was no, because he said over in America that would have been a game loss or a prize penalty, but he said it was quite obvious a marked card, and yeah, there was no issue. So that was I thought that was quite interesting to mention. But there's something else that Ethan mentions as well. Is obviously this whole thing with, especially Gardevoir decks, is the Champions Festival card.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, that's really annoying. It really annoys me as a Gardevoir.
What's your stance on that, Shay? Because I mean, it's going to cost, if you want it for your deck, and it does make a difference. Like it does help, and you're able to get another attack off with Guardy, aren't you? I think if you use it, it makes a big difference. Yeah. Correct, yeah, on the Drifloon, but it's a 300, 400, probably even more now bound card.
Yeah, it's going to go up as well, which is annoying because people are realizing that now is the time to sell. I think. In this meta, you can get away with it. In next meta, where Guardy probably does play that Drifloon Cape of Toughness package, that's where it's going to get a bit dicey. Also, Champions Festival is good against that Ting-Lu that will want to try and get damage on your bench Pokemon to turn their abilities off its ability, right?
Yes. Yeah.
If they just use a Hawlucha, you can Champions Festival that away. So there could be a scenario. I think Joe did a tweet where he said Chien-Pao could play it. Hang on, see if I can find it actually. But Chien-Pao can play. Oh, Lugia can play it as well to get damage off the Archeops. So that could be 3 meta decks. And if that's the case, I was playing when Tropical Beach, which was the last World's promo, and the reason they changed it was because so many decks wanted to play Tropical Beach at a price crazy, right? If that ends up happening, that's going to be like really sad, and it could become a case of, I don't want to say pay to, that's probably too far, but it'll be paid to be most efficient, right? And not everyone can afford to be dropping, £90 upwards for a single card. I mean, chances are, the thing is, you're probably going to want two as well, right, to make it at least semi-reliable. So
Yeah.
I'm hoping. I mean, my dreamer scenario is that they just print a stadium card which is functionally the same. So it could just be called, I don't know, Random Jim, which is just, if you got a full bench, heal 10, right?
Yeah.
And that way that stops this scenario from happening, because that's why they changed it from Tropical Beach, right? Because it was too playable and it was getting too expensive. That's why they changed it. And I did think at the time, actually, I thought this Champions Festival, there's going to be a time when this is good, because it's not like completely unplayable, right? It has got a use case. We have now found this use case.
Yeah.
And nowadays that same thing happens. So it's a bit sad how it's panning out.
You can't get it online either. You can't get it on TCG Live.
Yeah, that's another oversight. Yeah, 100% correct, actually.
Yeah.
The only saving grace I can think of is that you can play that picnic basket card that heals 30 from all your Pokemon. So if you're like a Chen Power deck, you're already playing 4 Irida, you can just play one of those instead of the stadium. You can Irida for it. So it's probably better in that scenario to play the picnic basket over a Champs Fest. But if you're like a Lugia deck that's really scared of that Ting-Lu card, or your Gardevoir that wants to get that extra damage on the Drift Loon, so you can do the 330, because the difference between 330 and 300 is massive, right? Like, you need that extra. So I don't know. I'm hoping for some sort of miracle cure, but I don't know what it is. I'm not sure it's going to happen either. But it's going to come prevalent at NAIC, right? That'll be the first event of the new format. So we'll find out now. But at least over here in Europe, the sort of silver lining is we can play French, German, Spanish, Portuguese cards. So I was actually looking at Card Market today. And the price of them is about 60. I say I don't want to make out 60 is not a lot of money, because it still is. But in comparison to the English ones, which are now pushing upwards of like 100 to 200, there is a bit of difference there. So at least if you're in America and you're really in trouble right now, if you want one. But it's a sad situation, because you don't, at the minute, at least now locals are back. But before, when you had to like pay to travel and pay for your hotel and pay your entry, it adds up quite a lot.
Oh, massively.
And you don't want to be adding in extra costs whenever you want to try and make the cost lower if you can. But
and for the people who sold it, now trying to get it back.
Sold them before. You could be a bit upset right now.
So I think they were going for 350. They were going for about 350.
Is it about 350 now? Is
at
it?
Worlds.
Oh, Worlds.
Because we looked at it, and when people were getting it and people were selling them, obviously at Worlds, you had all those the counters nearby outside. People were selling them for 350 and buying them for 300 plus. So this case, but like you said, that Omni Joe tweet, he was basically saying, without trying to stir more panic, Champions Festival can also be a counter to Ting-Lu and Horlucha, locking out Archeops and Lugia, Curlier, Zingardi, and Baxcalibur in Chen Pow decks. So it's quite powerful.
So it's got use cases now, right? Like,
That's it. So they've got to deal with it.
They've
so
got
it'll be
to print
interesting
another
to
card,
see.
like you said. They've got to print in just another stadium just with that effect, because it's too expensive for a card. No one would, like, I would never buy, even if I was like a million, I'd never buy a card for 2 cards. That's £600 for 2 cards. That, let's face it, is not really it changes. Like, it helps a lot, but it's not like you're having to buy like 4 Lugias for your Lugia deck. That's obviously essential. Champions Gardevoir can still work without Champions Festival, but it's crazy. It's crazy that it's like
crazy to come up against someone who potentially has it. Gatekeeping almost. So then another bit of news that I think would be probably stupid not to mention it, really, is everyone's probably seen it on social media this week. There's the Fusion Strike. What would you call it? Fusion Strike debacle. Basically, an alleged photo of hundreds and thousands of pulls and of basically alt arts of the Gengar, all from Fusion Strike, that apparently someone from the production company stole in production and then basically tried to sell to a local game store in one go. So Pokemon themselves have actually made a comment on this, because a lot of people were like, oh, this makes sense why my Fusion Strike had no hits. Pokemon, the TPCI, the Pokemon Company International, have provided a statement which says, "We take the protection of our IP and associated products very seriously. This matter remains under investigation and we cannot comment on details at this time. However, we can confirm that Sword and Shield booster packs and products were shipped to retail as intended, and we have no indication that integrity of the products were impacted by any confirmed or unconfirmed theft. Furthermore, we continue to significantly invest in both the production and security of our TCG business. We value the faith of our fans put in us and our products, and these investments are intended to help us continue to maintain that trust." So if you were out there thinking, this is why my booster box of Fusion Strike was rubbish, like mine were, it wasn't because of the theft. It was just purely really bad luck. But it's mental to think. I mean, you're talking, he had literally piles, and it would have been, you know, if you think the Gengar goes for about 150 now, the Espeon goes for about 120, you know, if you think you got about 100 each of them, that's just an astronomical money. And then on top of some, and then there was another picture that was also distributed of someone with a pile of Espeon, not Espeon, sorry, it was the Moonbreon VMAX. The Rayquaza, again, similar from Evolving Skies. So yeah, I think we would be remiss not to mention it. Obviously, it's been quite prevalent in both the playing community and also mainly the collecting community. But obviously, given that we need these cards to play, and we like our decks to be nice and pretty, it is something to discuss, really. It's mental, isn't it? This happened, but it goes to show that, because Pokemon did buy one of the production companies at the back end of last year in America, didn't they? Yeah. So it just goes to show that they're on top of it as well. That's it, Millennium Print, yeah, correct. So it just goes to show that that they are taking it seriously. But I mean, the quality, they could hopefully invest in more quality control. I don't know about you guys, but the quality's not been the best of the modern sets of late. I know obviously there is a market for misprints, but I think everyone's now thinks they've got a misprint because there's so many. You see people with like a random reverse hollow, but it's got a little bit of, you know, color bleed, and like, oh, how much is this worth? How much is this worth? Nothing. But back in the day, obviously, it used to be a lot more prominent. Though it wasn't as prominent as it is now, and that's why misprints from back in the old days are worth a lot more. But yeah, just thought we'd mention it. Your Fusion Strike pull rates weren't because of someone robbing the pulls; they were just shocking.
It was a massive set as well, so
it was.
That's why they were.
I am 20 cards away from mastering it.
Wow, really?
Yeah,
that's crazy.
That 20 that he stole. That's what you
Just reverses, luckily. Just reverse hollows I need, luckily. But yeah, no, it's not been fun. I started as a collector, and then I moved over to playing when collecting cost too much money, and the sets kept coming out every 3 months. So this is my last set that I want to master, and I'm 99% there. So, but yeah, kind of just for kind of like consideration, the pull rates for Fusion Strike. So the Mew VMAX Alt Art was 1 in 2,180 packs.
Jeez.
The Espeon VMAX was 1 in 1,640. And then I think the Gengar was about 1 in 1080. It's just obscene, absolutely obscene.
Thinking Scarlet and Violet, I think the pull rates for like Alt Art Gardevoir is like 1 in 300 or something.
Yeah, I think the biggest chase card is the Miraidon EX, which even still is only a 35 to £40 card. And that's 1 in every 599 packs, I think it is. I actually pulled it after trading for it as well. So knowing my luck, that would have happened. But yeah, cool. Okay, well, let's move on to our next feature then. So the next feature is RTFC. We've explained to Shay in advance that it's read the expletive card. Plenty have appeared, and given obviously Shay's our guest, we thought it'd be best if he would choose a card. So, and I believe this happened quite a bit at EUIC, so take it away.
It did. Now, normally when I play, I'm quite on it with my cards and readers. I tend not to make too many mistakes, touch wood. Hopefully it stays that way. However, a few times, my opponents, also, like I said, I was playing a quad Klefki deck. My opponents would forget that there was a Klefki in the active, so they would try and Luminion, under the clef key. People tried to go ninja under clef key. Luckily, I managed to stop them before they picked up their deck or draw a card. So there's no need to get a judge, because that probably would have been a penny. There's no need for that. But that must have happened a good, I'd say, 6 times off the top of my head. Considering I only played 4 rounds, that's more than 1 a round. So that's trying to think. That's probably the main one for me at EUIC. But you always get some of them, people. You know, the minion under path's always a funny one, or ninja under path. Actually, that's another one that always comes up. You forget that Raging Pokemon have rule box as well, right?
Correct.
But,
So
I think that's my main read the card stories for sure. What about you guys? Didn't have any EUIC read the card stories?
Well, I usually pass myself. I was playing Mew. I think it was I was practicing against you, Andy. I can't remember. And I just passed myself at one point. I was like, oh no, I don't have a lost vacuum or anything. And I was just like sat here. I was like, well, I'm just gonna concede.
And then
Oh, that's funny. The old what's it called? I have to path and just hope I top deck something.
Yeah.
I've been there before.
Yeah. No, look, I didn't actually have any, luckily. But again, like I said, my decks that I came against were just pretty much bread and butter. Guardy, which is pretty much standard, and Lost Box with nothing new. So yeah, but like you mentioned, obviously, it happened to one of our group. He just kind of carried on as normal. He played Lost Goo as well, and he confied twice.
Under a clef key, was it? Sorry?
Under a clef key, yeah. Right, and he ended up they ended up obviously, he had a 2 prize penalty. So it's one to keep an eye on, and definitely one for everyone to RTFC. So no, thank you for that, Shay. I think that wraps it up for this episode. So I want to thank everyone for joining us. I also want to thank, obviously, the most important person here, Shay. Thank you for joining us.
Not me. Don't be silly. It's your podcast. No.
Honestly, thank you for being our first guest, and thank you for taking time to join us. We really appreciate it. So where can people find you if they want to listen to more and see more of you?
Okay, well, thank you for having me. Number one, it's been a blast. I don't get to do podcasts too often. This was really fun to just sit here and just have a stream of consciousness about Pokemon. It helps sometimes. So if you
do it every week.
If you like my rambling, I guess, viewers, and you want to see more, there's 2 places mainly. I guess there's 3 places actually. YouTube's the first one. Now that I'm not at uni, I can try and get more than 1 video a week out. We're doing sort of content of sort of similar to what we were talking about before, actually, like metagaming, how to build a deck from scratch, how to read the meta. There's going to be like how to prepare for your events next. That's the next video I've got planned. So if there's the sort of stuff that you want to get better at, and it's the sort of stuff that people don't tend not to cover too much, then come over there on YouTube. I try and make it as I try and take the concepts and make them as simple as possible for everyone to understand, so you can be like, oh, that's how you can predict this is doing well. And it's funny because as I've started to make these videos, I'm starting to cash in my receipts. Like when I did my first, when I did my how to build a post-rotation deck for £5 video, I said, I'm going to play Snorlax now, but I can see Galarian Moltres, and I can see, what was the other one? Arcanine doing well as well. And then if you look at the top 16 Lost Box licks by Nick Moffat, you can see a Galarian Moltres in there. Yeah. So it's like, I do actually, I am right about these things sometimes. So,
no, definitely.
And then Twitter,
I really liked your... do you know when you take one card and look at the Genesect video? That was really...
the Genesect video was class.
Making the case, that's one of them. Here's a little world exclusive for the viewers. The next one's going to be Oranguru, and I'm in the concept. I'm scripting that one now because Oranguru has a really good case, actually, for being the best Pokemon. It's had some very good cards, and it hasn't had many bad ones. So that's the next one. So look out for that. And then the other place you can find me be on Twitter. I tweet a lot. And that is and the channel name as well actually is at BurtsPTCG. So BurtsPTCG Pokemon Trading Card Game. You can find me there. You can find me on YouTube, and you might, hopefully, if everything continues well, you'll see me on some of the regional streams, commentating some of them as well. So
definitely look forward to it. No, thank you again for joining us. So again, thank you for everyone for listening. We also want to thank our sponsor for the episode, who I believe also sponsors yourself, Shay, as well. So
it's Pokedex, right? Yeah, shout out to Pokedex.
So a massive shout out to Pokedex. Again, PokedexForYou.com. Go on there, get all your needs. I know Sam was really busy leading up to EUIC.
Yeah, he was sending me loads of cards as well. Sorry, Sam, I ended up using them in the end, mate. But one quick note on Pokedex viewers. Boys, there's no other place on the planet, I guarantee you this now, where you
Yeah.
can order a deck, every card you want, the exact 60. He'll send it out same working
Yeah.
day. And if you're in the UK, you get it the next working day. That is insane. Honestly, I
It is.
cannot sing that man's praises enough. He does an
No,
amazing
we've used him
job.
as
He's
well.
so
We've
good.
used for years now, and obviously getting into the competitive scene, it's been a godsend. And the amount of times I'll be like, Sam, have you just got this card? Have you got this card? Have you got this card? And he's an absolute godsend. But yeah, again, the website is pokédex4u.com. And if you go on there and use the code TrainingCourtTCG, you get 5% off your order as well. So, yep, definitely check that out. But again, if you want to listen to more of us, we release every week on a Friday. Best place to catch us is on Apple iTunes podcasts. We're also on Spotify, and you can also find us on YouTube at Training Court TCG. If you want to listen and catch us on our socials, our social medias, our Twitter handle is at Training Court. Our Instagram is at Training Court TCG. Again, I want to thank you all for listening, and I want to again thank Shay for joining us for our first guest. I want to thank Alex, Andy, and Kath for joining me again this week, and we'll catch you all next week. Thank you.
See you later.
See ya. Thank you.